Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host, Valerie, and coming to you from the 2022 Just for Laughs Moontower Comedy Festival. My sometime co-host, Miss Purrington, is resting at home. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. You can keep up with us on Twitter and Instagram at Comedy Wham or on our Comedy Wham Facebook page. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our new column, Rochelle Takes on Comedy. Have you checked out our events page for live shows in Austin, Houston, and DFW? If you're a comic in those cities and want your show featured on the calendar, go to the events page and click Submit a Show to complete the short survey. And if you want, you can give us a review of the survey and we'll share it and promo your show on Instagram. Now let's get back to our podcast. With over 200 interviews since its launch in 2016, the podcast is your anthropology lesson in Austin comedy, bringing you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and we usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the comedy world as fascinating off stage as it is on stage. Please rate and review us. Today, we are recording live on location at the Driscoll Hotel. Somebody that I met as a roadie for the Goddamn Comedy Jam, which has been a staple of the Moontower Comedy Festival, and consistently headlining venues across the country. His hit podcast, The Scissor Bros with Stevie Weeby, when we talked to him 6 months ago, had just crossed 50,000. I checked before today, and we're now at nearly 75,000. They just released the Best of Volume 1, which is a collection of the best of songs from the podcast. His Standup on the Spot is going stronger than ever and is launching a web series this month. He was also part of the 50-year celebration of the LA Comedy Store this spring, and he's gotten some really cool cartoon credits, or animation credits, and you can now hear him as Henry in the Nickelodeon series Casa Grandes. This is somebody we have now talked to. This is our 5th time talking with him, and it is like an evolution in career, and it is so fun to listen to the old episodes, and here we are today, and we're going to talk about what's new, what's different since it was 6 months ago, last Moontower. So please welcome back 5-time champion, Comedy Wham Presents, Jeremiah Watkins.
Yeah, back in the saddle again. Here we are. Good to be back.
Yeah. We wanted to commemorate this occasion with something very special for you.
Okay.
Because you are the all-time champion, and in your honor, we arranged a little something for you.
Okay.
So I'm going to play a little song that a friend of yours put together for you.
Really? Okay. Wow. Mr. Avery Pearson coming in strong. I love that. And then I like that you guys actually handed me a root beer right on cue with the song.
We're all about the experience, you know.
Thank you so much. And you guys know me. I love my root beer.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I would assume not. That would be so weird. By the way, that's a half-drink root beer we just gave you. We do things a little different over here at Comedy Wham.
So yeah, welcome to the Wham of Fame.
Thank you. Wow, that's awesome. Feels good.
Yeah, we didn't arrange, like a placard on the ground or
Hey,
a wall.
I'm a simple guy. I just need a root beer and a new Comedy Wham pen to get through. Oh my goodness, M&Ms. I'm gonna be so hopped up by the end of this interview on sugar. That's amazing. This feels like my birthday party because there's popcorn and there's candy and root beer. It literally feels like, yeah, it's a good celebration, good time.
Well, Jeremiah, we got to sit down 6 months ago, and back then we talked a lot about the changes with becoming a new dad, and the changes because one of the shows that you'd been involved with moved to Austin, Texas.
Sure.
And it, in 6 months' time, I feel like more has changed. You've gotten these cartoon animation credits, and your voice is even more out there.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the stuff that I've been auditioning for lately. Just being in the mix with some people who I really respect their work, and I'm hoping that I get to work with them in the future. I'm just glad that I get to audition for some cool things that I'm not even getting, but I'm, eventually down the line, I'll get that stuff down the line. But it's cool to kind of be slowly progressing. That world is a very, very like comedy. It's really hard to actually get your nails dug in, but once you're kind of in there, like anything else, you just start getting a little bit more opportunities. So got a couple things that came out within this last year that I'm really excited about, and we'll see what happens.
One of the things that strikes me comparing the first time that we talked to even just 6 months ago is the say yes to everything, just to try something and see if you like it, to now, especially becoming a dad, being more selective.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've had to trim off some of your big projects so that you can make room for others.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely a mentality more and more all the time of betting on myself even farther and farther, and really putting all the chips on myself, which is kind of a scary thing to do. But luckily, the longer that I'm around, the more I feel that that's the right decision to do and stuff like that. Like we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast, this is my first year not doing the jam at Moontower, which that's a really hard decision for me to make, because I love Josh and I love the band and I've toured with them for so many years, but it's kind of just the next step that I need to do to focus on, the projects that I'm working on, like with Standup on the Spot and stuff like that, and Scissor Bros and Jeremiah Wonders. Those are all three things that I really believe in, that I think need my full attention. So boy, that's hard pill to swallow, that you're not the roadie. I know.
But
I know.
Life takes us different avenues.
Yeah.
So, because we heard the story of how you and Avery and Josh first met in another interview, and it was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that the history of the three of you went that far back.
Sure.
So, but paths will cross, and you still work together on other things, maybe.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Yeah.
Scissor Brothers is like a cult. I think you appreciate that. A cult of positivity.
Yeah, I'm all about that. I mean, I've said it before, but I think we have one of the most positive YouTube comment sections of any podcast, because we really try to put that out there, and it's just not, we're just not about having any negative people in our lives. It's just like, move on. We don't have time for it.
Yeah. We were lucky that at last Moontower you brought the live version to us. It was your soft run, and now you've done a few live versions. Do you have more fun at the live versions or the in studio where you and Steve can, I think, probably get more real with each other when you're just...
I definitely have more fun in studio. The live ones they're fun, but they are very stressful, and they're a huge production.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of prep that goes into them, because people have already asked us to do way more dates, and we actually aren't taking them. Like we don't want them to be like oversaturated and the quality to go down. So we want to make them like special events.
Yeah.
So after we've got like a couple more in June. We're gonna take a break for a little while from the live shows for a little bit. And, yeah.
There was one memorable episode recently where you and Steve got, like, for me, got super, super real about the scheduling.
Oh,
thing.
Yeah.
And you know what? They should play that part of the episode where, like, you negotiated, this is my priority, this is where I'm coming from, and then he's like, this is just what I do, and it's what I've done, and then, like, the realization how it impacts you. They should play that like marital therapy of how you negotiate.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we had to do. We literally did our a couples duo therapy live on the podcast because it was getting to a point where, like, it was becoming so exhausting for me, where it was like it's hard for me to move forward with this, like with the scheduling issues. Yeah, but we worked out, and he's been amazing since we had that discussion, because I think he was unaware that like when you have that separate of schedules, you think everybody kind of is on your schedule.
Yeah.
You're not just really thinking about it. So,
right. Yeah. How's being a dad?
I love it.
Just 1 year.
Just 1 year. He's almost walking. Yeah. He's so fast already. He's a crawler, and he just books it. We can't turn our heads anymore. So that's been a new development. And he's just started to. I think he's going to be physically. If he wants to be, I can already tell he is going to be an athlete if he wants to be.
Yeah.
He has the build, and he's already having like. When parents see how young he is and how he's able to lift and crawl, they're like, this baby is strong. And so we'll see. I hope he gets into basketball. I'd love to teach him some stuff for basketball. Yeah,
that'd be an awesome father-son.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah. I know that looking back 6 months is probably a very short time frame, but can we go through a fun exercise of comparing
of course.
Today to
I'm all about
5 years ago?
Okay.
And then talk about, where do you think you see things going in 5 years?
Yeah. Sure. So 5 years ago, let's see. 2017, I would have been getting married that year. So a lot has happened since then, obviously. And then, I think 2017, I think I was very ensemble Team Jeremiah, where that was when I was doing roast battle, Kill Tony, and Jam all at the same time, and stand up on the spot. So a lot of different projects, and I think compared to now, I'm really just trying to focus. And what was great about when I was on the scene, like just even 5 years ago, if you looked at what I was doing, there was a big palette of things going on, right? But what I feel like is now what I'm trying to do is I'm almost trying to refocus people, because what happens, I've learned, if you do too many things for too long, it all becomes white noise, where nothing is breaking through. It's just static, because it's a lot of things. Look at me over here. I do this. And then it's like, well, what do you do? What do you really do though? So, and that's at the base root of it. I'm a stand-up comedian at the root of everything, so that's why I've slowly started to step away from kind of these sidekick ensemble parts and focus on my stand-up and stuff like that, and stuff that's a little bit more me driving the vehicle forward a little bit rather than being the passenger or pushing the car of somebody else's car, Yeah.
And through it all, there's been a creative energy, because the costumes and the characters that you would portray on Kill Tony. I mean, now it's, you've got your wig box on Jeremiah Wonders, and you drop into characters, and obviously maybe not so much characters, but the creativity definitely goes into the Scissor Brothers.
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, now it's a little, you're right, it is now more focused on, well, it's Jeremiah that's presenting these things to us.
Yeah. I think the analogy is good. Of me, for many years I was in someone else's car, and now I'm driving the car that I own. If that makes sense. Yeah, that's what. And then my shows are in my passenger seat as far as like the different things that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've been emphasizing the stand-up on the spot a lot, and you've got the web series that's going to be coming out. Because that is, it's you facilitating a crowd work show. Not crowd work show, that's not the right word for it, but audience suggestion show.
It's an improvised stand-up show, yeah. It's melding the two worlds, yeah.
So you actually don't technically have to write for that show, but why is that show becoming a focus as well?
Because one of the things that I've been doing that show the longest out of everything. I've been doing that show for 12 years. So that has been something that I've slowly been building, that for years I've wanted to film. The reason why I'm pushing it so hard right now is recently I made an agreement with the Comedy Store. We came to a deal where they're allowing me to film inside the Comedy Store, which is a really big deal for people who don't know. Like, they might be like, oh, okay, cool, you get to film inside the Comedy Store. They're very, very selective with who they allow to film anything in there, and it's mainly just specials or the big networks who get to film in there. Mm-hmm. And they're allowing me to do a series and put it on my personal YouTube channel and not go through a network or anything like that. I'm being the network, that's a huge victory for me, and they're luckily very supportive of me and believe in me and the show. So I'm pushing on that, because one of the things that when people come see me live is they walk away, they like my material. That's a highlight of the show, but obviously one of the highlights of the show is how present I am and how I tailor each show to that live audience. And that's kind of the spirit of Stand Up on the Spot. So if you see a Stand Up on the Spot, it's a little taste of what you're going to see me do when I headline. Like, you're going to see me interacting and coming up with bits in the moment and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of why I really believe in that show, and I believe that it has the capabilities of becoming easily down the line on like a Netflix or some kind of distribution on a bigger scale. So we'll see.
Nice, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Speaking of the Comedy Store, you were involved in the 50-year celebration, and as comedy geeks, tell us what your personal comedy geek moment was from that celebration.
Honestly, for me, it was they redesigned the entry to the main room. They for years, when you walk into the main room entrance of the Comedy Store, there's legendary photos of people from all eras of the Comedy Store, but they hadn't updated them forever. So you just saw some of the most recent ones were literally like from the 25th anniversary. And it was like Jim Carrey on stage naked with just a sock over his penis and that kind of thing. And, just like a lot of that. Troy Conrad did like a hallway series that was in one part. That was the most updated part. But they literally, through the whole entrance, put in new updated photos. And they put my picture up in a few different settings from my work there from over the years. One of me just on stage performing stand-up, one as me as part of the cast with Kill Tony, as a Kill Tony cast photo, and then one of me and Joe Rogan riffing, doing stand-up on the spot, and they're all framed headshots on the wall. And I walked in and I was kind of like, I was taken aback a little bit by it, because I was like, it's just being cemented even more and more as part of the history of the Comedy Store. It's just really cool. I was like, I took a step back. I was like, wow, I got almost emotional for a second. I was like, this is really cool. Like, I felt very honored to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. And it's great when it happens to good people.
That's the goal. That's the goal. I'm always rooting for the good people, you know?
All right, let's talk about where you see yourself in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
How's our conversation going to go? Knock on wood. I still get to talk to you.
We'll still be talking. What's been interesting about my career over the years is literally nothing has happened the way that I thought that it was going to. And I feel like I am really coming to terms with that a little bit, the longer that I'm in stand-up and everything. I think that the way the industry moves and the way that I have to work and the way I have been working and finding any of my successes over the years is really the DIY mentality of the do-it-yourself, and it sucks and it's really hard, but at the end of the day, it's the most gratifying because it's something that you are doing 1,000%, and unfortunately but fortunately, you know what I mean? It's a very half glass full kind of mentality with it. It's going to be really hard, but I think it's going to pay off in the long term very much. I think that I'm not going to ever be one of those guys who just has that blow up thing, you know what I mean? I think it's going to be a very gradual thing, and I'm hoping to have a career like somebody like a Steve Carell who hits a little bit later. Sometimes it takes different comedians longer in the industry to really start seeing their stride and then hitting it. And I hope that Stand Up on the Spot is a big series by then, whether it's me continuing to make it as a YouTube show or with another network. And I am still wanting to do a sketch series. I still want to make that happen, whether it be on somebody else's network or whether it's just me having the means to produce a legit awesome sketch show. So that's the goal still in 5 years, because even 5 years when we spoke ago, I definitely mentioned the sketch thing. So, Yeah.
And one thing that I can say as a fan is I do really appreciate that you still put out sketches.
Yeah.
So I love Jeremiah Wonders, love Scissor Brothers, love what I've seen of Stand Up on the Spot. I really like when you surprise us with a new sketch.
Oh yeah, so. I love that. Yeah, I try to do it as much as I can in between all the other stuff, but I still, if I had my way, I would be pumping those out just as much as I can. I literally put out as much as humanly possible as one person can do.
You are a one-man machine.
So, and I've got, luckily over the years, I've gotten a team of really cool people who are very creative and very talented that have been helping me make me look good with these things.
Yeah, the production value, you definitely invest. Okay, we're going to start wrapping up, and my podcast, if you do it once, you get a word of the past, word of the future, and I've just been asking for words of the future. Do you want a retrospective, or do you want to just, me asking you right now, one word to describe your future? What is it today?
Do you have any of my old past words?
Huh?
Okay, what are some of my...
past was happy, and I don't ask people to refresh that, but you can. There's no rules in my podcast.
Yeah, I'm curious what some of my other words were.
So you started off with eclectic was your first future word.
And that was very dead on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then I didn't ask it our second time.
Mm-hmm.
Our third time, tumultuous, so that was 2019. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And then last
That's
fall
so weird that 2019 tumultuous right before the shutdown. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then last fall, 2021, was balanced.
Okay, what is my future word this time around? I'm going to say solidified.
almost graph your words. Like they go, and then.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool. Is there something else that you want to promote and talk about before we wrap up?
Depending on when this comes out, the first episode of the Standup on the Spot series on my YouTube page, youtube.com/Jeremiah Watkins, comes out on April 25th. We're premiering it Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we're going to have multiple episodes coming out after that on my YouTube channel, and new Jeremiah Wonders, new Scissor Bros, and I'm a fun follow at Jeremiah Standup on social media.
Very good. Well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham presents our first official Wham of Famer.
Yeah,
Jeremiah
it feels
Watkins.
good. I literally have 3 drinks in front of me right now. I've got a sparkling Rambler water. I've got water with lime in it, and then I've got root beer. I mean, I just look like you guys went all out.
Yeah. And we're not those choosy people that are like, you should have a drink.
No, I appreciate that. You know, you get it. You get it.
Respect the boundaries.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you for rattling off where people should follow you. Moontower 2023, our 6th episode with Jeremiah Watkins.
Let's do it.
Stay tuned. This has been Comedy Wham Presents Jeremiah Watkins. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you so much, Jeremiah.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're the best. You took an afternoon off at Moontower. Yeah, you're the best. Everyone knows now you don't have to cower. Jeremiah, welcome. You're now in the Wham of Fame. And now you get a root beer. Welcome to the Wham of Fame, Jeremiah. You're inaugurated.